Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for a new journaling on a budget starting from scratch. And today we are going to make these I'm going to show you how to make these cute little, you can make them into cards, tags, tuck spots, whatever you want to make them into. And they're really easy to do. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to make a pocket and a tag to go with it. So I've grabbed out some paper. I have decided that this is the page that I want to work on. So I'm going to pull that out. And we're first going to make a pocket. So I just have a piece of our orange colored paper. And I'm just going to find where my fold is. And just make a mark here. And let's see. I think we want to go right to... That looks like a deep enough pocket, so that's going to be the size of our pocket. Let's see. That is 2.5 inches. And one more time. And then what do we have here? This is 4.5 inches wide. Nope, that wasn't 4.5. That was 4 3/4 and 1/8. And that's why I make 3 marks. Because if I would have marked that without noticing, when I went to draw my line, I would have noticed it was way over there. So I could have fixed it before I cut it. Okay, and this does not seem right either, so let's check this again. And that one is 2 3/4, not 2.5. I did really well on both of these. There's my starting mark. Okay, so that's going to be the size of our pocket. I'm just going to try and cut like right on the line or just inside the line. Of course, I do have an eraser, so I can erase it. There we go, and then just trim it up. I'm going to cut inside the line on this one because I don't want it to be too long. Erase my little extra marks and the pencil mark across the bottom. So there we go. Now this is going to be our pocket, and that's going to work really well. So what I want to do is I want to put one of our pretty little figures in our pocket. So I'm going to make it a heart, just because that's what I like to do. If you have a punch, you can use a punch to punch out a shape. You want it to be an empty shape. You know, not like a intricate butterfly would be just fine to use like this, but then you wouldn't have to do the extra bit with it. But for this technique, you need an empty shape. You can make a circle, a square, a diamond, anything that you want to. I like hearts, and I think I'm going to put a heart on our tag also so that they kind of match. So there we go. Wow, that's a big one. So what we are going to do now is we are going to put our little mosaic background behind that, and I want to do it in a contrasting color so that you can see it. Wait a minute. I lied. We're going to do the mosaic in this color. Oh, what the heck? Let's do it in a contrasting color. Usually what I do is I do the mosaic part, the part I'm going to do now, I do it in the same paper as the front. And then I put a color behind it so that then you see it. But it looks like this is part of the front. But maybe, oh, for the pocket, we're going to do the same color. All right, so what I'm going to do is just take a piece of paper And I want a piece of paper that I feel really matches my pocket. And I'm going to cut the paper the same size. I'm going to make it just a titch smaller than my pocket. So I'm going to move this in, move it down just a little bit. So when I cut along the edge of my pocket, this will be just a touch smaller. Oh, goodness. And then, let's see, where's my little cut mark right there? So I'm going to go just inside that little cut mark, just about 1/8 of an inch or so, just so that it's a touch smaller. Okay, so now that fits behind there, and that looks good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little mark here and here, just so I know how wide to make my mosaic part. And then, so I know I need to go, here's the mark over here. I need to make sure that I make my mosaics at least that big. It doesn't matter if it's any bigger, we just don't want it any smaller. And then what you're going to do is you just come in from the bottom and just make some kind of a shape. And I'm going past that line now so that I know for sure. I'm going to have the whole thing. And then you just cut out a very little slice like that. And then you're just going to cut something, maybe we'll just do this one kind of like leaf shaped. And the one thing you want to do is, I went past the top of that. This line goes past. I'm going to go up and I'm going to meet that where that cut line goes, because I don't want to accidentally run into that later and cut a whole chunk off. Because you want to fill in all of the space. So I'm going to go up and around that one to fill in our space. And they don't have to be really super, you know, you can make that one I made a little bit bigger. Then you can come down from the top also, but just make sure that you do not touch any of those lines, because if you do, you're going to cut it in half. And you can make these as intricate or as, you know, as tiny and skinny as you want. Now be careful, because it gets kind of fragile at this point as you're going through here. And so just make sure that you don't cut accidentally a part you shouldn't. And also just be careful not to just rip it when you're hanging on to it. Make another little one. Now some of these might not even show, because I don't know exactly where my heart is. I just need to know I need to go from there to there. I'm already going all the way from the top to the bottom, so I don't have to, that's why I didn't have to make any more marks. I'm going to take this one way down here, and it's just however you want to do it. There is no right or wrong way to do it. But I think it kind of looks like a little bit like tiger stripes or zebra stripes, or, you know, just some kind of a mosaic. And I just think that they turn out cute. And again, I just want to find out where my line goes to, because you want your lines to meet up so that you don't have an extra cut somewhere that you don't see and then have an accident. I'm going to come back in from this side again now. One here and come up past the other one. You can do this all from one side. You don't have to go from the top and the bottom. That's totally your choice. I'll show you the other two, because I believe one of them goes both ways and one of them just goes just is cut from one side. But just some kind of an organic little slice is all you need. And okay, this one goes up past there. I need to widen that out to get to the top of that line, because I almost just cut right across there. And had I cut across that line right there, this whole piece would have fallen out. Okay, so now I know right where that point really is, and I need to come back out here to go around that. There we go. Make sure that those meet. If you have to pull your piece off and it's not pulling off easily, you probably have not met your lines. I'm going to turn it over and see how much more we have to go. So we still have, whoops, quite a bit to go over here. And so we'll just keep this up until we get done. Remembering that what's in the center of this is what's going to be seen the most. What's on the edges here is not going to be seen much really at all, because those will be covered up by the front of your pocket where you're going to glue this to. So we're almost there. Bring this one around like this. And then I'm going to come up one more time from the bottom and kind of meet up in this area. Oops. Right here. And that will be my last cut. If I can get those two to meet. There we go. Okay, so now this is what it looks like. And so what we're going to do, I was going to show you this one here. Oh, they're covered up. But this one, I came all from one end and just went up and made all my little shapes. And then the other one, this one I think, yeah, this one. This one, I came in from the top and the bottom. And when I made this one, I came in from the same cut every time and just started cutting around and then turned it over and made one cut and then just did it. But you don't have to do it that way. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to take some glue. That's not scrap paper. I don't want to use any scrap paper either. Here, I'll use this box. This is one of the things that we got, or that I got, because we all got different things, whatever we could get for our $25, but I pulled this out because I thought it might make some kind of a nice tag too, depending on how far we get here. So what I'm doing is I'm going around the heart. I know that that piece of paper is about as big as this cover. So I'm going to take my glue out there so I don't really have to do much extra gluing when I'm done. Then I'm going to make sure that I bring that glue into the center of the heart, because I want that to be glued really well all the way around the edges of this heart so that it doesn't get ripped or anything else. I'll move that now. I only have a little bit to go here. And spread that out. And then we're going to set this down nice and flat. And then we're just going to take this, hold on to it nice and flat. Start at one end, making sure that you have it straight, and that's why I make it just a little bit smaller so that I don't have to line it up exactly perfectly. And then we're just going to lay that across there, keeping it nice and straight. So now we're off a little bit right here. Oops. There we go. Now you're going to want a pretty solid surface. There's my book. We'll use this. You want a solid surface to press this on so that you get it nice and flat. And just remember that you've got glue all over that whole thing. So that glue's going to stick to you. Don't press it down like with a piece of paper or something, unless you have parchment paper, because you don't want that to get glued on there. And so there we go. And when we flip that over, that is the look that we have. And I think it looks pretty cool. We have a little bit of our pencil mark right there, so I'm going to just erase that. And there we go. And so now at this point in time, you can leave them just like that, which is what I did here. Or you can put another piece of paper behind it to give it a different, to give it a contrasting look. And when I do that, I cut the piece of paper that I'm going to put on here. I don't cut it the size of my heart. I cut it the size of the hole, whether I'm making a tag or whatever I'm making. See, with this one, I cut it the whole size of the back so that it completely covers that up. And that way, it doesn't just look kind of funny. It doesn't look like a filler to get color on the front. So let's see what it looks like with this as a color. And that's kind of pretty. But I was also thinking blue. I thought I had a piece of blue. Oh, no, I put that away because it was too dark. This is just something that came in one of Grandpa's magazines. I thought that might look pretty on there. A nice bright contrast. Is it too contrasty? I don't know. I like it, so I think I'm going to do that. And the nice thing about this is it's white on the back, so it will make a really nice journaling spot. So again, what I'm going to do is, this time I'll use this piece of paper here, because I have a lot of it, so I can use it as scrap. And normally what I do is, if I have an old magazine, I use old magazines to glue in, and then I just turn the page. So, and a lot of them, especially if you're using glue stick, a lot of them, you can just, after they're dry, peel them apart because the glue stick does not stick to the shiny paper very well. And I'm just going to kind of pounce that glue on there because I also want to get it in the center part. You want to make sure you glue down that center part because it is delicate. And I find it kind of easier to pounce the glue on this way than to try and just rub across it with my fingers, especially once my fingers start getting really sticky. Make sure I get around the edges. And there we go. Now I'm just going to put it on here randomly. I'm not going to line it up perfectly. And then I'll just cut around it. The only thing I want to make sure is, there's my fold. I want to make sure that I don't go past my fold. Although I could still trim that too. Put it on there. And give it a really good press. And I'm a little bit off right there, but I'm not going to be able to change that now, so I'm just not going to worry about it. It is what it is. And I went past my fold also, but that's all right because I can fold this back and cut that off right there. And then just trim it here. I was going to use the yellow, wasn't I? Well, I guess I was meant to use this one. I just thought of that when I was thinking about the journaling space on the back. Although this paper is such a light color, it's perfect for journaling or adding pictures or doing whatever you want to. And it still has its own pretty look when you haven't journaled on it or added a picture to it. So there we go. Like that. And like that. And I have to say that I think that looks pretty cool. Now, I also have to say that bothers me. And so I'm going to cut it. I'm going to use my knife And my ruler, I'm going to cut it from the front because I don't want to cut down into my heart. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball a straight line. Oh, darn. Okay, let me tell you something. If you want to cut something with a ruler, you need to make sure that your paper is dry. Let's try this again. Darn. That really messed it up. But it is what it is, and when you can't change it, you might as well not fret over it. And even when you're cutting with scissors, you should still let it dry. There we go. Okay, so let's look at that. Now the inside looks good, and the front looks good. And what you can do if you want to is you can ink along these edges before you put it together. It would make this heart stand out more. I kind of really like them to kind of blend together, something that it's not like right in your face, and you know, later on people look at that and go, oh my gosh, that's a heart, you know, because they don't necessarily see it right away. I like things like that that are just kind of like a hidden secret. And then what we're going to do is we are just going to, I'll put the lid back on my, oh, I guess I don't need to put the lid on that. I'm going to grab something. What am I going to grab? I'm going to grab this. And because I don't have a round punch for this series, I'm going to hope that's about in the middle. And just cut a little thumb hole in here so that when we stick something behind it, we'll be able to get it out. And there you go. If you don't have a circle punch, you don't have to have one. So there's our pocket. And that's why our pocket is this big, because we're going to glue it here, here, and here. That's going to make a pocket. It's also going to make a place that can be opened up, that can be journaled in, or pictures can be added in, or you can do whatever you want inside there. That, you know, I almost used this as a scrap glue piece, and this is actually our book. That would have not been good. And so we're going to glue this in on the sides and the bottom, and then we will have a pocket and a writing spot. And we have our cool little like mosaic inlay on the front of our pocket. Put that right up to there. And there we go. There's our pocket. There. And we have all of this, and that's really pretty too with the two colors together. Maybe we'll make this color match whatever. Well, that's not going to be the other side. The other side is over there. But whatever's going to be on this page over here, maybe we'll make it match with this. That'll be nice. Actually, I'm kind of glad that I made that mistake, because that'll draw the two pages together without them having to just be all in the same color scheme. And we can put that on there somewhere. And we're going to make a tag for this, but I'm going to come back in just a minute to make the tag, because Papa's little Pee-wee wants to go outside. And I can't let my videos get too long, or otherwise my computer can't find them on my phone. So I'll be back in just a minute, and we'll make a tag to go on this page, and then we'll be all set. Okay, I am back, and so I took the piece that I cut this off of and just made it into a rectangle so we could use that to make a tag. And I thought that we would round the corners. Let's see, where are our corner rounders? Either round them or... I like the corners rounded better than square. I'm not sure what I did with them. Let's just grab a piece of cardboard here and round the corner. That looks good, like that. Alrighty, so I'm going to just hold my paper up there, line it up on both sides. This was out of something, like out of some kind of packaging, so I know that it should be square anyways. It's not one that I cut. Whoops, that's not good. So just hold it up, line it up on the top, line it up on the side, and round the corner. Then flip it over so that it's the same. Line it up on the top, line it up on the side. And around the corner. It's easier than I made it look. And then I messed this one up because this one's lower. There we go. Usually don't have that much problem. Alrighty, so we have our tag, and then I'm not sure what we want to do with it. I want to leave it plain on one side. This is really, really not right. That's much better. Okay, so what do we want to do with that? Let's put our heart on there. What if we put our heart on there? I think that looks kind of cute. Let's put the heart on there. Let's go ahead and do just a little bit of edging on the heart though. So for that, I'm just going to use some of the red marker. Put a touch of water with it. Just need a drop of water. You don't need much at all because you don't want it too watered down. And I'll just edge this. And this works pretty well, especially on regular paper, because what it does is it kind of, because it's, quite watery, kind of soaks into the paper and gives you a nice looking kind of inked edge. Not as much with a heavier cardstock or cardboard, but with regular paper, the water soaks further in towards the middle. And then I don't know, do we need something? We're going to put that on there. Kind of want to stop it from spreading. You can just kind of wipe it off a bit. Put just a little bit more on here, because the other side was so wide that I like it to kind of look the same. There, I like the looks of that. And then we can put a word on there. Put that on there. And I may at some point edge the tag, but probably not right this second because it takes a while, especially with a big tag. But I'm going to just glue that on. And yeah, that's my front. Let's see here. We'll just use this piece of plastic. I'll have to look for an old magazine. I'm sure I have one here somewhere. It just works so much better because there's so many pages in a magazine. And when you're trying to glue a lot of stuff, you just flip those pages over and you don't ever really run out of pages, you know, just in one sitting. I kind of want this off center like that, but in the middle. There, I like the looks of that. And then I want to put some twine on the top of it, so let's take a little bit of this. I like this one because it's got the blue and the green together. I think I'll just make a few wraps. And give it a cut right there. That looks pretty good. They'll look about the same length, so I'm just going to put those right on top. Now, I can do one of two things. I can put a hole in there, even though we don't have a hole punch. I can just poke a hole in there with something and put it through the hole, or I can put it on like this with just a little bit of something holding it on. And that, I think, is what I'm going to do, is just put it on like this. And pick it back up for a second. Okay, I'm going to find the center, give it a little bit of a twist right at the center. And then just use a little piece of paper. Do we want to use green? Do we want to use red? How about a little piece of fabric? Let's see what that looks like. That doesn't look too bad. It's a little bit too thick. Let's cut it down just a little bit. And I think I like that. So I'm going to put the glue underneath the string. Let's take it out of here so we don't glue it to our page. Put some glue underneath and come out far enough to catch our fabric. And put that on there, like that. And then take our little bit of fabric, put some glue on this. We have to put the glue on this even though we have glue out here. We want to make sure that it catches our strings so that they get glued right down on the top and on the bottom. And then I'm just going to kind of like bump it up a little bit in the middle, but not too much because we don't want too much bulk in our book. But just leave it bumped up a little bit. It'll get kind of hard because of the glue, and just give it a little added texture. And then just, I don't want those strings sticking out the bottom, I don't think. Well, we'll trim those up later after it gets dry. Make sure that we get nice good contact all the way around, top and bottom. And then I do want to just take these, give them just a touch of a haircut here. Whoops, don't cut yourself. There we go. Yeah, I like that. If I stop pulling them out. Okay, so that's going to be our tag. That's going to go in there like that. So we need to do something with our page behind here. And because I have to figure all this stuff out, we'll only get one side of this done. The other side, we'll do it another date because it takes me forever to try and, even though I pulled out a bunch of stuff, I never know what I'm doing. All right, so that's going to go in there. So what do we need in the background behind this? We're going to have a word on here, and we'll look for that later too, because I don't know what I did with my words. I know I had some in there, but I have more words somewhere, and I don't know where, so I want to look for those. I can even look in my dictionary and find a word if I want to. But let's see here. So we're going to call this done. Like I said, I might do the green like I did the red, exactly the same way, but I'll do that when we're done here. I'm not going to put anything on the back because I think that the back is nice where you could put a photo or you could write, and this is plenty light enough to write on. And so I just like the looks of the color on the back versus just plain tea dyed. Now we need our background. Okay, for our background, I got out, this is my favorite background. If I think, oh, I can't find my stencils, or I can't find my stamps, or I don't have any stencils and stamps, which, you know, we have a few homemade stamps here, but we don't have any stencils. And I don't have any homemade stamps. Well, we do. We actually have homemade stencils, so I'm going to put 1 drop of paint with that. And now instead of white paint, we have a nice light orange. And the more paint you put with it, the darker you can make it. But because this is just going to be a background stamp, I don't want it to be dark. Now I'm going to take a piece of scrap paper, and I want just regular, thin regular paper. And then I'm just going to kind of pinch it in the middle. Take all of these bits and squish them up towards the top. That's way too much paper, so let's get rid of some of it. Okay, let's do that again. Pinch it in the middle. Scrunch all these up like that, kind of like a little flower. Give that a little squish. I have a big flat spot right here. You don't want a big flat spot because that'll make a big flat mark on your paper. Okay, so there, that looks pretty good. It's just all scrunched up. Now we're just going to take it and go like that, and then go like this. We're going to do the same with the red. And if we want darker color in here, we could do the same with the colored water for a darker orange. Just going to do this until it's all used up. And then we will do a little bit of red. Make sure that you do not color where you have paint, because that paint, if that dries on your marker, it will mess up your marker. Because these markers are pretty much all the color we have, that I have in this series, I definitely don't want to lose them. Okay, that might have been too much paint. Let's see if it gets pink enough. I think I want to add just a little bit more red. Making sure I do not touch that paint. Okay, now that's not completely mixed in, but I'm going to leave it like that because I'm just going to use the same piece of paper and kind of squinch it in a different way, because then when I go there, I might get a little bit of dark and a little bit of light. When you're using these, either turn this piece in your hand or turn your paper so it's not all exactly the same shape mark. Give it a squish once in a while. Go right up and off the edge to really you know, fill in that background. I'm going to fold this back so that I can get right to the edge of this one. And to tie them together, no, I can't go over to the other side because the other side is not the page that's next to this. This is an inside page. And there we go. Well, there's a nice background for us. And we have our tag. So what do we want on that background when we take our heart out? It's going to be in there like that. Do we want a flower back there? I really don't know. I like this. I like that all so far. So we've got our pocket with our little heart, or actually the front of a journaling spot. We've got the back of that. We've got our pocket with our tag that needs to still be edged and needs a word. We've got our background. But at this point in time, I don't know what I want to do with that background, so I don't think I'm going to take it any further. And that's the biggest thing, is that if you're working on something and you just don't know what to do with it, then just leave it. Because I could put a flower back there, and a flower would be pretty back there, but I really don't know that I want a flower because we've got a heart here, and we have a heart here. I don't know that I want a flower in the background, but I really don't think I want a heart in the background either, because that would be kind of overkill with the hearts. So maybe I really just don't know. So because I don't know, we're going to leave it. So I'm going to edge the edge of this. Let's put it back in our book and see what it looks like. Well, it's going to look pretty much the way it looks because the page next to it doesn't have anything on it yet. Whoops, what did I drop? Oh, our little vellum. Oh, we have those little vellum cards. Maybe that would make something nice to go with this. Okay, so this page goes right in there. And the pages behind it have the blue and the pink, so those look actually nice together. So now we'll have to do something with this page over here, which actually it has one of our envelopes that is actually a fold down writing space. So we have that there. And so we'll need to do something with this background before we put our envelope on there. And maybe we'll put a pocket, maybe not, because if you're going to be rolling that down, you might not want a pocket, but maybe we'll do a collage background or something. So there we go. So I hope you like the technique of the little mosaic cutouts. And like I said, you can do them, and you could do the mosaic in a different color. It would show up more. You can outline your heart. It will show up more. Or you can do it with the same color paper so that it really kind of blends in, and it takes people a while to notice what you've done there, that that's a heart. So it depends on just how you want it to look. So, well, I think our tag turned out okay. Maybe I will put, I really don't want to put, it's going to put coffee dyed paper on the back, but I like the color on the back. And I like having things that this tag is big enough to actually put a photo on. And, you know, in these journals, you know, they're meant to put photos and, you know, writing if you've gone somewhere, or to write down, you know, just sayings that you like or whatever. So, but I do like to have spots that are big enough for photos, because a lot of people like to put photos in. I put photos in mine. So there we go. That is today's page. It doesn't look like a whole lot yet. We'll have to figure out how to finish it at some point in time, but I'm happy with how far it's come along. Thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.